Here are today's top stories. The Balangiga bells arrive in eastern Samar as they await their turnover to the Balangiga Church. The PNP goes on high alert as communist rebels threaten a nationwide offensive against the government. The Rizal Provincial Police relieves officials and personnel involved in the encounter that killed an aide of election lawyer Glenn Chong. And a health official suggests using ethanol as an antidote amid a spate of poisoning incidents involving methanol-laced Lambanog.
Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Balangiga bells have arrived in eastern Samar after being turned over by the U.S. government back to the country. They are set to be returned to their home in Balangiga Church tomorrow. Here's our report.
After their turnover from the U.S. government, the historic Balangiga bells arrived today at Gian, Eastern Samar. Philippine Air Force Public Affairs Office Chief Major Aris Galeng said the bells left via C-130 from Villamor Air Base early Friday morning. The bells were taken from display at the PIF Aerospace Museum last night and then transferred to the 505th Search and Rescue Group hangar in Villamor Air Base. They will be brought back home to the local parish of Balangiga in Eastern Samar on Saturday, December 15. Last December 11, the U.S. Department of Defense turned over the bells to the Philippines in a ceremony culminating the decades-long return process between the two governments. President Rodrigo Duterte will attend the turnover of the bells on Saturday. The president said he will hand over the bells to local executives who will also turn them over to the church and the townspeople. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Maricor Zapata.
President Duterte says nobody from both Philippine and United States governments should take sole credit for the return of the Balangiga bells. The president stresses that the bells have always been property of the Catholic faith. President Duterte adds that the bells were returned upon of the demand of the Filipino people. The bells will make their way back home to the local parish of Balangiga in eastern Samar on Saturday, December 15. The president is expected to attend the turnover of the church bells to town officials. The Moro people and indigenous children remain the most affected by conflict in Mindanao. UNICEF representative Lota Slywander says Moros and IP children 15 years and above are highly vulnerable to recruitment by rebel forces. They are also prone to persecution for being seen as rebels. Slywander says the situation prevents children and their families from experiencing basic rights to security and to freedom of movement. She points to the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, the Abu Sayyaf, and the New People's Army as the main groups that are guilty of recruiting and using children. Last May, the United Nations called upon armed groups in the Philippines that are recruiting and using children to end and prevent the practice. Several officials and personnel of the Rizal Provincial Police were relieved from their posts following the death of Richard Santillan, the security aide of lawyer and election reform advocate Glenn Chong. Rizal Provincial Police Director Lou Evangelista Cainta, Police Chief Pablito Naganag, and 14 other policemen involved in the encounter have been relieved. Also facing removal is a Highway Patrol Unit team of Rizal. Police Regional Office 4A Chief Edward Carranza insisted that there are proper procedures in providing information on its operations. He also maintains that the operation was legitimate. The former Biliran congressman demanded details on the operation that led to Santillan's death. Chong cried foul over police allegations that his slain bodyguard is a member of a syndicate. He had described the alleged encounter as orchestrated by lawmen. Senators grant amnesty to delinquent taxpayers, and cops rescue 2 minors from prostitution in Taguig. More on these and other news around the metro from Janice Cave.
The Senate ratified the bill granting a one-time amnesty to those who have failed to pay their tax obligations for 2017 and prior years. Under the measure, taxpayers availing of the general amnesty will have the option to choose the rate between 2% of total assets or 5% of net worth or a minimum tax. Taxpayers can also avail of a reprieve from all estate taxes. The government is expected to raise up to 41 billion pesos from the amnesty. In Taguig, operatives of the National Bureau of Investigation rescued two minors and arrested a suspected pimp in an operation in Market. The NBI responded to a tip from the Dutch police regarding child prostitution. The two rescued victims, aged 8 and 11, are now under custody of social workers. The suspected pimp will be charged for violation of the anti-child pornography law. In other news, about 63 newly promoted generals and flag officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines made their courtesy call to AFP Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Benjamin Madrigal. The newly promoted AFP officials are Lieutenant General Arnel de la Vega, Vice Admiral Gaudencio Collado, Lieutenant General Macairog Alberto, and Lieutenant General Ronnie Evangelista. The officers previously took their oath before Madrigal after receiving military honors at the AFP General Headquarters. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, the PNP goes on high alert as communist rebels threaten a nationwide offensive against the government. School officials in Cebu support calls to revive mandatory ROTC training. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
This is Secretary Martin Lambanog, and you're watching.
Because the media center, nobody paid for. I trained the Myanmarese at one section. The guys in 2 days.
We have the Office of the Global Media and International Affairs, and we are back here to establish the office in Bangkok. Yeah, so we'll have one in Bangkok, Hong Kong, Singapore, of course in Manila, Japan. It's coming December 30th, Japan, and then one in Beijing.
And I remember.
The Philippine National Police is on high alert as the Communist Party of the Philippines threatens to mount a nationwide offensive. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde says police have been put on high alert for any clashes with communist terrorists who have been ordered to escalate attacks on government and prize civilian targets. He says police forces deployed to Eastern Visayas, Negros Island, and Bicol region have linked up with their AFP counterparts to strengthen community defenses. He adds that while PNP maintain a hard stance against CPP-NPA, they are ready to welcome rebels who will surrender and rejoin the government's side. CPP founding chairman Joma Sison ordered the offensive in response to another extension of martial law in Mindanao and right after they declared a holiday ceasefire. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has dialed down its inflation assumption for 2018 to 2020. The Monetary Board Manila issued the new rates and points to latest forecasts, suggesting more restrained inflationary pressures in the next 2 years. BSP Assistant Governor Francisco Daquila Jr. said risks to inflation have become more balanced given the slower rate of price increases, the decline in global oil prices, and the stabilization of the peso. Last November, inflation fell to 6% from 6.7% last September to October. Daquila stressed that they now see inflation going below 4% at the end of the first quarter of 2019. Business groups and members of the security sector have joined the ranks of those hailing the one-year extension of martial law in Mindanao. Eastern Mindanao Command spokesperson Ezra Balagtay says no human rights abuses were ever recorded since martial law was implemented. Police Chief Alexander Tagum adds that martial law had a large role in maintaining peace and order in the city. He says martial law helped prevent the entry of contraband to the city and led to the arrest of several suspected mounted terrorists. Meanwhile, businessmen says landscape in Davao improved because they feel safe with the added security measures in place. In Cebu, several schools have expressed support for the revival of the Reserve Officer Training Corps, or ROTC, in the curriculum. Dr. Antonio Esmero of the University of San Jose, Recoletos, says ROTC training is focusing more on disaster preparedness. He notes that cadets were utilized in civic activities such as the September landslide in Tinaan, Naga City. ROTC instructors bellied claims that mandatory military training will militarize the schools. They also said that it will not violate laws protecting minors from being involved in warfare. Cotabato police arrest an elusive drug personality, and a Bulacan cop returns a lost pouch with money while in Marikina. More on these stories from the provinces from Janice Cave.
In Cotabato City, anti-narcotic agents arrested a habal-habal driver found carrying 6.8 million pesos worth of suspected shabu. The suspect, identified as Mads Luminog Mamintal, was caught in a buy-bust operation. His companion, identified only as Abdul, managed to escape and is now the subject of a manhunt operation. In Bulacan, police lauded a fellow officer for returning a black pouch with about 38,000 pesos he found at the Marikina Shoe Expo in Riverbanks, Marikina. Provincial Director Chito Bersaluna identified the honest cop as Chief Inspector Moner Orang of the Provincial Investigation and Management Branch. Orang returned the pouch containing cash and a bank passbook owned by Sofronia Lumagbas Walker with the help of local police. In Sulu, 3 members of the Abu Sayyaf and 1 trooper from the Marines were killed in an encounter in Patikul, Sulu. 2 other soldiers were wounded. Soldiers recovered 2 M14 rifles from the terrorist camp. Government troops are conducting hot pursuit operations against the remaining terrorists. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, a health official suggests using ethanol as an antidote amid the spate of poisoning incidents involving methanol-laced Lambanog. The PBA finds Mark Barroca and Alaska coach Alex Compton over a foul incident in the Governor's Cup Finals Game 4. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Bago pa man naganap ang Marawi Siege, ang iba't ibang panig ng Marawi City ay masagana sa iba't ibang produktong pang-agrikultura, lalong-lalo na sa gulay, prutas, mais at palay. Subalit nang umatake na ang Maote ISIS group sa Marawi City, maraming mga magsasaka ang napilitang iwan at nawala ng kanilang mga lupang sakahan. Isa na rito si Ansari Palo, residente ng Kadayunan 2 Marawi City. Si Ansari ay 10 taon nang nagsasaka ng palay sa kanilang lugar at ito lamang ang pinagmumula ng pang-araw-araw na panustos sa kanyang pamilya. Sa kanyang pamamalagi sa evacuation center, hindi na kontento si Ansari sa pagtanggap lamang ng mga relief goods mula sa iba't ibang mga ahensya. Nang pinayagan ng makabalik sa kanilang lugar, ay agad rin siyang bumalik sa pagsasaka.
Yung tumulong sa amin, yung DE, yun ang nagbigay sa amin ng yung kit para makapagsaka. Sana hindi mawala yung tulong nila sa amin kasi matagal pa kami maka-recover. Nasira talaga yung namin rito, kampuhayan namin. Salamat nga sa kanila kasi nakatulong sila sa amin.
Si Ansari ay isa lamang sa mga benepisyaryo ng Special Area for Agricultural Development o SAAD na isa sa mga special programs ng Department of Agriculture o DA, katuwang ang World Food Program o WFP. Tulad ni Ansari, isa rin sa mga nakabenepisyo sa SAAD si Yusuf Basal na nagsasaka naman ng mais.
Buti nga, dumating yung DA, binigyan namin ng mga abon, yung mga mais, palay, lahat binigyan nila sa amin. May tanim namin lahat.
Nang dahil sa SAAD at Food Security Convergence ng DA at WFP at ibang ahensya at organisasyon, maraming mga magsasaka ang muling nakabalik sa kanilang lugar at naipagpatuloy ang kanilang nakagawian. Ngunit iba naman ang naidulot ng Marawi Siege kay Noraisa Ali, isang dating private school teacher. Nang dahil aniya sa malagim na pangyayari, ay hindi na siya muling nakapagturo at nagkahiwa-hiwalay din sila ng kanyang pamilya.
Kasi iba na kasi yung buhay natin, sir, dati. At saka ngayon, kung dati, kung ano yung gusto mong kainin, nakakain mo. Pero ngayon wala na. Hiwa-hiwalay na yung pamilya, katulad nung anak ko, nandun sa Manila. Sa kuya ko, wala sa amin. Di mo alam yung kung ano yung gagawin mo. Kaya nga, laking pasalamat namin nung dumating itong tulong na yung sa beach tibor. Talagang laking tulong talaga. Talagang laking tulong itong binigay ng government, itong World Food Program. Kasi ngayon, mayroon ba silang binibigay na bigas? So, ilang buwan yun? May isang buwan. So, ang laking tulong talaga. Tapos, ngayon, nangyayari pag mayroon kaming inaani dun sa mga namin. So, nabibinta namin. So, pwede din dun kami kumukuha ng namin, araw-araw na kinakain. Tulad ng sa isla. So, laking tulong talaga. Kaya laking pasalamat namin sa government sa ginawa nilang ganito.
Tulad ng iba pang biktima ng Marawi Siege, wala ring naisalbang mga kagamitan at ari-arian si Noraisa at ang kanyang pamilya. Pero sa tulong ng DA at WFP, pinilit na rin ni Noraisa na makabangon sa pamamagitan ng pagsasaka ng gulay.
In other news, Health Secretary Francisco Duque suggests drinking another alcoholic beverage as antidote for Lambanog poisoning. Duque claims that drinking a beverage with ethanol inhibits the creation of formic acid, the byproduct of methanol that causes poisoning and death. The Food and Drug Administration reports that the Lambanog that killed around 9 drinkers in Antipolo, Bulacan and Laguna last week had high methanol content. The FDA says Lambanog must contain only 0.1% of methanol. However, those in Santa Rosa contained 16% methanol, whereas those in Calamba had as much as 8.9%. FDA was able to track the source of Lambanog in Laguna, but it is unable to determine if they all came from one source. In our foreign news, at least 9 people were killed and 47 others injured in a high-speed train accident in the Turkish capital of Ankara on Thursday morning. 2 carriages overturned as the train crashed into a locomotive and derailed. Governor Vasip Sahin earlier said 3 of the injured are in serious condition. Local TV footage showed that parts of an overpass collapsed onto some of the carriages. Rescue teams were working at the scene. The Ankaran State Prosecutor's Office has launched an investigation into the cause of the crash. The Union of Chambers of Turkish Engineers and Architects blamed the accident on signaling problems. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs says no Filipinos were among the casualties in the train crash. In sports, the Philippine Basketball Association has slapped Magnolia's Mark Baroka with a hefty fine for hitting Chris Banchero in Game 4 of the Governor's Cup Finals. Baroka will pay 50,000 pesos after being proven that he had hit Banchero on the crotch. Meanwhile, Alaska head coach Alex Compton was also fined 20,000 pesos for his post-game rant. Compton complained that referees did not call a flagrant foul on Baroka, as well as Gio Halalon, who allegedly punched another Alaska player, and Mike Harris also getting hit on his private part. In continued efforts to rehabilitate Marawi City, Task Force Marawi held its 4th Kawiyagan event to provide livelihood to the city's displaced residents. More on this from Calvin Pinaco.
Task Force Bangon Marawi or TFBM and partner groups provided livelihood packages to internally displaced persons or IDPs during the 4th Kawiyagan in Marawi City. Several government agencies and non-governmental organizations participated in the event, including the Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, TESDA, DSWD, World Food Program, and Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. They extended livelihood support such as farm animals, cash assistance, sewing machines, coffee machines, and carpentry tools to IDPs. The agencies did an initial distribution of livelihood assistance in the morning during the ceremony, while the complete distribution took place in the afternoon. Two of the agencies that showcased their livelihood assistance during the ceremony were DSWD and DAF, which gave cash assistance and farm support respectively. DSWD gave 10,000 pesos each to 723 beneficiaries, while DAF gave 15 sacks of corn seeds to 15 beneficiaries. Other agencies and partner groups also lent their support, including the World Food Program, which benefited over 7,000 farmers and fisherfolk. As a guest speaker of the ceremony, TFBM Field Office Manager Assistant Secretary Felix Castro Jr. stressed the importance of properly making use of the assistance provided by donors. He added that the IDPs need not worry, for a lot of help is still coming to Marawi from other countries.
Pag nalaman ng donor na hindi natin inaalagaan yung proyekto, yung livelihood assistance, aalis na yan. Kailangan ipakita natin sa kanila na kada bigay sa atin, minamahal natin, inaayos natin, pinapalago natin. Pag nakita nila na inaalagaan natin yung mga binigay nila sa atin, the more na magbibigay pa yan.
Meanwhile, Aina Makadaan, one of the IDPs who also spoke during the ceremony, shared a message of inspiration with her fellow IDPs.
Gamitin niyo ang kamay para sa inyong kinabukasan. Huwag lang tayo umasa kung anong pinapamigay. Hindi pwede umasa sa isang pamigay lang. Asahan po ang sarili. Sariling sikap na kaya natin ibigay para sa ating mga pamilya at mga anak.
Another IDP and a farmer beneficiary, Haji Said Bilal, thanked DAF for their assistance.
Nakakatanggap po kami ng bini ng white corn para po sa aming taniman ng mais po. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po sa DAF dahil sa mga tulong na ibinigay nila sa amin mga magsasaka po.
Kawiyagan is a program created by the members of the TFBM Subcommittee on Business and Livelihood to provide livelihood assistance to IDPs. For the PNA Newsroom, Calvin Pinaco, Philippine Information Agency.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's top stories.
The Balangiga Bells arrive in eastern Samar as they await their turn over to the Balangiga Church. The PNP goes on high alert as communist rebels threaten a nationwide offensive against the government. The Rizal Provincial Police relieves officials and personnel involved in the encounter that killed an aide of election lawyer Glenn Chong. And a health official suggests using ethanol as an antidote amid a spate of poisoning incidents involving methanol-laced Lambanog.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. It's 11 days to go before Christmas. That's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Roses Morato. Good day.